but 31, a little bit more width. Now again he's gone aerial on this one. How much has he got of this one? And it's enough for a 6 again. Berrington really tucking in. Cross sort of keeping up with him. That's 31 sixes in the tournament so far, and that's the third one of this innings that we've seen between Cross and Berrington. Coetzer was out for 6, Munsey for 15, and Cross and Berrington now have seen Scotland take the score up to 91.
He's a very intelligent batsman. As you can see here, he's had the ability to play traditionally, knock it around and play straight, but he's also got that explosive dynamic power. He's a really intelligent cricketer, and been Scotland's talisman, well, certainly of the period leading into the World Cup, but you know, the last 5 years he's something they've built the team around.
Well, it's Cross facing at the moment at the other end from Berrington. Pokana it is bowling for PNG, and it's the third over for Pokana, and there'll be a single to be had from it. So that goes on to Cross's tally. He moves on to 30. But yeah, just seeing, I mean, everything looks a little bit more dramatic in slow-mo. We're just seeing on the monitors there, just the facial expressions, the power, the intensity we're seeing at the moment from Berrington and from Cross, but particularly we saw there from Berrington, 83 metres for that 6. Pokana, it is left arm in bowls, maybe a little bit slower on the leg stump, and that's tickled away very fine from Berrington. That is going to get the better of the fielder, even if it slows up as it normally does, just towards the boundary, but it gets there into the rope. So 6s and 4s, they're starting to come now, starting to come for Scotland. They move ever closer to 3 figures at 96 for 2 in the 13th over.
Yeah, excellent batting from Scotland. We talked about that gear change, or that need to assess the situation and change gear. They've clearly done that. And also talked about the role identity. Both of them seem to sort of play in a similar role. Richie more than Matthew Cross has tended to find the boundary, but
next ball bowled again on the leg stump, and that's been hoisted away. It's going to get sort of 2/3 of the way out to the lakeside boundary on this occasion. So Berrington to 42 of 30 deliveries. 97 for 2. Just
touching on Papua New Guinea here, they've found themselves in a difficult situation. We talked about them not squeezing the field and allowing Scotland for that single. They've not got an ability to defend the boundary. So what do? They just literally got men in the field who are.
Pokana to Cross. Again it's on the leg stump, and again it's whipped away, this time more square on the onside. The fielder to it now with the left arm throw, but an easy 2 to be had there for Scotland, up to 99 for 2. You were talking about, well, you were talking about it at the weekend. Ravi again was talking about it earlier today. It's about the experience in the field, isn't it? I mean, that the captain there should be across these things. But actually, for Scotland, 105 for 2 with 1 ball remaining of the 13th over. They were watchful, they were careful, they were pushing the ball around in those overs, sort of just out of the power play, if you like, from 6 through to 10. But it's all changed since the break, and that one went 76 metres, so not the furthest we've seen, but still very well struck. And as I say, with 1 ball left on the 13th, 105 for 2. That's a low full toss on the leg side, and that's been helped along to the boundary. Oh, it shouldn't have been a boundary, actually. The fielder getting to it, but couldn't get down. We're so used, of course, to fielders these days just throwing themselves at it. He stayed on his 2 feet, basically, and tried just to flip it back with his right hand. It didn't work, so it's a 4 to finish off that over. It's 13 overs gone, and it's Cross moving to 42. Berrington on 42, so actually Cross has caught up with Berrington. So perhaps the plan was 109 for 2 after 13 overs. Perhaps the plan was, John, for Berrington to be more aggressive and Cross maybe just to tap it around. But actually, the way things are playing out, they're both thinking we can both do it. Yeah,
I mean, clearly Cross feels that he's in decent form as well, and actually he is the more expansive batsman than Berrington. But I mean, that screenshot there for me, 109 for 2 after 13. Each batsman on 42, 1 off 30 balls and 1 off 32 balls is the perfect situation for T20 cricket. You've got wickets in hand, you've got 7 overs to really launch and set a total. So well done, Scotland. In terms of Papua New Guinea, they really have lost their shape. You know, they've gone from a flat back 4 to everyone just behind the ball trying to defend, but it's nothing here. They've lost a bit of shape. They need to regroup. They need to look at who's going to bowl the next overs and get back to what their plan is to try and stem the flow of runs here from Scotland.
Amini here, Kabua, Morea and Chad Soper have been the pair that perhaps have been the most testing, but to break out this partnership should be first and foremost in the captain's mind, or not, or do you understand what they're trying to do with their bowlers? Berrington, by the way, has moved to 44. He looks down that lakeside delivery to try. What about these bowling changes?
Papua New Guinea, they don't have a lot of choice. You know, they've got to stick with what they know.
Amini bowls, leaning back and pushed away into the offside, up towards wide, long off, a single. Those two bowlers I mentioned, by the way, with 2 overs remaining, the bowlers both.
Yeah, well, they've probably got set in their plans that they're going to come back at the death and bowl their death overs. But that's the problem with not having a lot of choice. But what
Cross is on 42. Can't really get hold of that so well. But he gets a single all the same. So that's 114 for 2 now.
But what Scotland's done really well is that they've bided their time, and that's the thing you got to do with playing against teams like Papua New Guinea.
Forward to it, reaching for it a little here. Berrington can't get anything on it. No run.
The longer the game goes on, you know, the better you are, better position you'll be in against teams like Papua New Guinea, because they usually don't have the depth and quality to keep going.
This is an 88-run partnership, which is the highest that Scotland have achieved in a World T20 competition, by the way. So well done to Berrington and Cross for that. You can add another one to that now with a single being scored there on the onside. 115 for 2. Cross on 43. The highest partnership for any wicket in T20 Men's World Cup cricket for Scotland this now. Having lost the openers relatively cheaply early on behind square. Another single. So Amini doing reasonably well there in dragging it back. Just the singles. There was one dot ball in there as well. So 41 runs though from his 4 overs. It's been tough for him generally out there. He'll hope for better maybe with a bat later on, but Berrington and Cross doing a really good job. Just have a graphic here. Last 5 overs, Ravi, 55 runs scored, 3 sixes, 3 fours from the last 5 overs. Scotland really going through the gears here now.
Yeah, that's good going. That's good boundary count as well. You know, there's 3 boundaries there 6 boundaries there in 5 overs, so they're getting their 1 boundary every over, which is key in T20 cricket. And obviously in between there you're getting a lot of singles, so that's where the runs have built up, and they've got 55. They've gone at 11 and over, which is fantastic for a middle period.
It is. I mean, you know, the ideal plan, of course, is you don't lose any wickets, but in so many ways, this actually is just working perfectly for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
As long as they can keep it going, as you're saying, they have got their best bowlers coming back, so it may not be straightforward towards the end.
It may not be, but you know, I think the Scottish batsmen will fancy these bowlers at the death. You know, there's not a great deal of pace or deception, I would say, to really trouble them. They're in a great position to stamp their authority in the back 6 overs. Now they can go from now. They don't have to wait. They've got plenty of wickets in hand. We've seen Scotland's middle order are very capable as well, from we saw from the Bangladesh game.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, there was the middle order that gave them that opportunity in the end. Chris Greaves, of course, 45, a good partnership with Mark Watt. Josh Davey was chipping in as well. Brad Wheal, who's signed an extension to his contract with Hampshire over the last few days as well. But here, representing Scotland, but not yet required, Berrington and Cross. Cross on 44. Atai, it is bowling, and that one has been pulled away. Bounces just in front of Amini out there at cow corner, so that's a single and no more. So continuing with spin, just holding back their quicker bowlers at the moment for later on. They did do a good job first up. Wickets were taken, and they sort of slowed the run rate down a little bit. It'll be a little bit different, of course, with now this big platform having been set for Scotland between Berrington and Cross. Another single on the offside. So the board just ticking along here very nicely. A win for Scotland obviously is another massive step towards the Super 12s. It wouldn't necessarily be enough to be certain of getting through to that stage. For PNG, a defeat, and I'm afraid that the tournament, even with one game remaining to be played, would be over. Cross has put plenty behind that, but he's been caught, hasn't put enough behind it. And Atai has struck, and Cross has gone for 45. Caught out there at mid-wicket. Just swung the bat at it, tried to pull it as hard and as ferociously as he could, but I'm afraid he couldn't get it past either the side of the fielder, and certainly not over the top. So 36 balls faced for Cross. He's gone for 45. Good job done in this partnership, mind you. Platform has been set for others to now come out. He'll be disappointed not to have seen it through to the end. I think he was for a little bit extra bounce on that one. Maybe he just kept it a little bit lower. Didn't quite get it as well timed as he would have liked, and in the end a sharp catch taken high on the body of Amini, off the bowling of Atai. 2 4s, 2 6s for Cross, but he's gone.
Yeah, he's played a good innings there. 45 from 36 balls. He got the team back into a position from when they lost. They had a little wobble there early on, but he's played really well. And to be fair, it was a ball to put away on a wicket like this, which is a really, really good wicket. I've got to say, it's probably one of the best wickets we've seen so far in the World Cup. It just didn't get enough height on the ball. He did actually hit it really well, but he hit it flat to the fielder, took a catch out on the boundary. But, you know, they shouldn't be too disappointed. At this stage of the game, he had to go for it, get as many runs as they can, get up around that 180 mark if they can. From here, give the middle order a good platform to launch, really.
Well, Calum MacLeod will be one that will be wanting to put more runs on the board. Of course, I say that the platform has been set for them, for those now coming in, and it has. I mean, they're professional cricketers, they know the job to do. However, it can sometimes be the case you've been sitting there just waiting a little while. It is quite difficult maybe to get into the groove as quickly as you may like. That one is driven by MacLeod straight along the ground towards extra cover. 32 years of age for himself against England in Edinburgh in recent years. 53 innings so far, and he faces his second delivery, and he'll get off the mark there into the offside. He'll push, and he is off the mark with one, just a single. Actually, we're just looking at the replay there. Cross knew from the moment that he left the bat that had not gone where he had intended it to, and the catch taken. Slams his bat down into the ground, which always worries me because it could easily jar your hand in quite a nasty way, that. Anyway, he was frustrated. He wasn't thinking about that at the time. That one is again played into the offside for a single. Berrington moves to... Oh, no, he doesn't actually. He turns around and, yeah, there is one at the end of that over. So it's 15 overs gone. Berrington on 48. He keeps the strike. MacLeod is on 120 for 3 after 15 overs. Atai with that wicket and 4 runs coming from it. So more from Ravi Bapara, and it'll be Dan Norcross to see you through to the end of this innings. Yeah,
and Scotland in a really good position here, 120 for 3 off their 15 overs. Generally, you want to be getting around the 60 mark off your last 5 overs. Sort of around 60, 65. With this sort of platform, so they're in a great position here to really hunt down 180 with these 5 overs to go with the Papua New Guinea's death bowlers. I think they'd fancy a lot of them. Not a great deal of pace in this attack or deception, I would say. So pretty straightforward. Berrington's already set as well, so he's in a great place to really kick on and get himself a massive score in this game.
Looking at those options, I'm thinking a couple of overs from Morea, a couple of overs from Soper, and between them they've bowled 4 overs, taken 2 for 14, those 2 bowlers. And of course, very different circumstances now with 5 overs left, 1 set batter, and the destructive MacLeod. It's going to be Morea who's going to come back into the attack. 1 for 6 from his first 2 overs. He was delighted to pick up his first wicket, gave a great celebration. As this first delivery is wide outside the off stump, probably be signalled wide. It is signalled wide by umpire Nosaina. 2 wide of off stump, just past those tram lines, those indicators. 121 for 3. 53 have come from the 5 overs since drinks, which is healthy.
It's good going, yeah.
It's very healthy. Another 53 for the next 5 overs, getting up to a very big score as the next delivery is smashed down the ground for a 1 bounce 4 by Berrington. That brings up his half century. A shot of great authority, 71 miles per hour, but in the slot, angled across him, left arm over the wicket, and then crunched straight. A sort of straight long off. There is a long off out there, but he's about 5 or 6 yards wider. It went to his right, and it bounced just in front of the boundary sponge. That's his 5th 4 to go with 2 6s. Moves to 52 from 37 as Richie Berrington. It's been a terrific knock. One that John Blaine pretty much predicted, actually. Morea in, driven again firmly through the offside. Won't make it to the boundary, will be cut off. They're going to just settle for the 1. There's a neat piece of fielding by Amini on the boundary. Prevents more than that. I've been impressed actually by Papua New Guinea's general fielding. I mean, it's tough for a side that's so inexperienced. And, you know, you expect them to struggle a bit with the ball and struggle a bit with the bat, but fielding is something they've obviously worked on. There've not been any glaring errors in the field.
Some good athletes in that side. I mean, they're quick across the ground, which is, I think...
What is it? Sort of confidence in their technique as well with the fielding, which you don't... Traditionally, you haven't always seen it with associate nations when they come in to big tournaments. 126 for 3. MacLeod on strike. He has licence to go berserk here. But he's only just arrived there. He has 1 off 2. Round the wicket comes Morea, and his first ball that MacLeod faces from him, he drives back the bowler, fields off his own bowling with a big grin on his face. 6 have come from the first 3 deliveries. Just to remind you why this is so important, this match, if Scotland were to win it, they would then be 2 from 2 with 1 match left, and that match against Oman, who are really the only hosts we've got in this tournament. The whole tournament taking place in the UAE, and Oman get to play all their matches at home. They're, of course, playing later today. Now, reverse sweep, up in the air, flicked and dinked down through deep third, down to the boundary for 4. That's a shot of great enterprise from MacLeod. Because actually, he had to make a bit of an adjustment. Morea saw what he was doing and then fired the ball in really full. And there's 2 fielders there. There's one at a sort of short third and one at a backward point. And he just managed to get it on the half volley and scoop it over slightly, I guess, to the left of the backward point inside the ring, to the right of that short third. And for a while, Morea was interested, thought that that might be landing in the hands of either of those 2 fielders. It didn't. And has clattered into the boundary sponge for 4, 130 for 3.
It's an interesting shot, that, isn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
The reverse sweep. I mean, he's a good player of the reverse sweep. He does tend to go to it.
MacLeod drives again firmly into the offside, but Amini will field on 131 for 3. 10 runs have come from the over now. 133, I beg your pardon. I was struggling with the scoreboard. It's either going up really quickly or it's going up much later. Which one is it, Ravi?
It's just more efficient than we are, that's all.
I don't like that. Mind you, as I've mentioned to you many times before, I think the scoreboard at Chelmsford is the one that really, it needs to take a long, hard look at itself. Morea is in. It is 131 for 3. This next ball's been clubbed down the ground for 4. A terrific shot from Berrington. It was in the slot. Well, that's a 3rd boundary in the over, and he's hit that over long on. And again, it's just landed about 4 or 5 metres inside that boundary. And Scotland are motoring here. 14 runs off that over, 135 for 3. 4 overs remain.
But why is it my fault? I play for Sussex now.
I'm not blaming you personally, Ravi, but I tell you, it takes 2 balls. It takes 2 balls to
the electronic one.
Yeah, it's a scandal, frankly. It's very, very difficult to commentate there. That's all I'm saying. I mean, in every other way, Chelmsford is a beautiful ground, but I object to that scoreboard, especially when there's a spinner on and they're going through those balls really quick. Shall I let half an over behind? Can you have a word?
Shall I let the scorer know?
Yeah, don't say it came from me though, because
no, I'm going to say it came from you.
They hold grudges.
They do.
Scorers hold grudges. Yeah, they can make your life really difficult. 135 for 3 after 16. Scotland are motoring here. 4 more overs to go. 180 certainly on the cards. And first and foremost, of course, it's the win that Scotland are focusing on as Soper comes back into the attack. 1 for 8 in his first 2 overs. First delivery is driven up to long on by MacLeod, but Siaka runs in from the boundary to field. They pick up 1. 136 for 3, because net run rate could become really important as well. There's a very distinct possibility we could have 3 teams that have won 2 games. Looks like Papua New Guinea are going to struggle. Their last game is against Bangladesh as well. So not right in the mouth of this game, but if Scotland were to win it, everything would come down to their game against Oman, very possibly, as this next delivery is shanked out into the onside, out towards the boundary. A good sprawling stop by Charles Amini, moving to his right at deep mid-wicket, prevents more than a couple of runs. 138 for 3? Or is it now 140 for 3? This is what I mean, you see. It is 138 for 3. They update the runs in the over after they update the scoreboard.
Very efficient.
Yeah, you think that's the right way around. Soper into Berrington, who's on 59, short and clubbed, strapple really, straight pull back at the bowler, but Soper gets enough on it to prevent the run. A precious dot ball for Papua New Guinea. So ultimately, I mean, look, there's a scenario, it's a genuine scenario today where this group could be done and dusted by 6:30 this evening. Because if Oman beat Bangladesh and Scotland, that's
it.
Well, and Scotland win, then Bangladesh and PNG are out. And the last games become all about which group you then end up being siphoned into.
I'm really looking forward to that game later on, I think.
Oh, I am. Soper in, that's been hit high, out too long on. It's gone a long, long way. It's another massive 6 from Berrington, and that's gone over the sight screen into the car park and has landed in a sort of scrubby rubble behind the cars. It's a 33rd 6 of the tournament, and Berrington's moving to 65 with this. He's an outside chance if he gets enough of the strike. Might be eyeing 100 yet.
I think he will be eyeing 100 here, especially with the death bowling that's about to come. I don't think it's going to be of the highest quality, I wouldn't have thought. I mean, I think the bowlers can definitely have a good day out and bowl a couple of good overs. It can happen, but I think he'll be fancying his chances on a pitch like this, which is an excellent pitch.
You love this pitch, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant pitch. Balls come on beautifully. Yeah. There hasn't been much turn. The seamers have come on. There's been nice bounce in the pitch. It's smallish boundary, straight. So, it's a great opportunity, I think. It doesn't mean it's a good pitch just because it's coming on really well. I mean, I'm one of those guys who thinks you can get very good pitches which are really hard to bat on. Mm-hmm. They're also good pitches as well because it tests techniques and other ways of scoring, and low-scoring games, you get your 130s that can be challenging scores, which is...
I think you fancy batting on this, though, don't you?
But if you're a batsman, this is what you want.
Short, pulled out to deep mid-wicket, not with great timing by Berrington. I'll just pick up the single for it as Amini runs in from deep mid-wicket to field. One more to the total, 145 for 3. The 3 biggest 6s in this tournament have been hit by Scottish batters. I'm just putting that out there.
Well, they're the only ones who've played.
Well, it's fair to say they are in their second match.
We haven't seen Chris Gale yet. We haven't seen Evan Lewis and Russells and Pollards of the world yet.
Last ball of the over is pulled by MacLeod out towards deep square leg. They'll only get the single for it. It means MacLeod will keep strike. He has 8. At the end of the 17th over, Berrington 66, Scotland 146 for 3. 3 overs remain. This is very true. But it just seems notable to me that Scotland are adopting a very aggressive approach. They've really decided to target those boundaries. They had that consolidatory phase between overs 5 and 10 where almost every ball was a single, a very occasional boundary, and then having got themselves into a sort of solid position, a solid platform at drinks, they've exploded since then. I mean, what is it now? 78 from 7 overs since drinks.
I think when you're playing against an opposition like Papua New Guinea, you can afford that period of singles because you know that there's going to come a moment in the game where Papua New Guinea, they're not going to have the class or the depth to just carry on bowling well. There is going to get a breaking point, and when you get to that is when you cash in, or when that pressure starts to build, because at some point the pressure flips. You've lost a couple of wickets, and now the pressure's on you as a batting team. You soak it up, and then eventually they'll get to a point where the pressure will flip back to the bowler, because you'll go, right, these guys are set now. Right, I need to find a way. And when that happens, when you've got the quality of bowlers like Papua New Guinea, which, there are some good bowlers in there, but they're not of that high quality which you'd see of international teams.
Pokana starts a new over, and he very nearly picks up a wicket with his first ball. A full toss wide of the off stump, which got the bottom of the bat from MacLeod. It was in the air for a while. And short extra cover came diving forward to try to take the catch. Couldn't quite make it. It was a good effort, actually, from the fielder, who might have thought better about it. That's a potential tooth crusher. And MacLeod's looking at his hand. And I probably got that horrible feeling when he's jarred it slightly on hitting the toe end of the bat. But he picks up a single nonetheless. Goes to 9. Berrington back on strike, 147 for 3. Sorry, Ravi.
And it's a different situation if you're playing against a team like India or, you know, a fully fledged international side.
Pokana in again. Good block hole delivery. Dug out by Berrington. Back to the bowler. Doesn't get a run for that.
Where you're going to get probably 6 very good bowlers. So you need to put the pressure on straight away. There's no real hanging around. You know you got to put the pressure back on the bowler straight away, because you know at some stage you've got, you know, Bumrah is going to come back, and then you've got Ashwin, and you've got these guys. You know, the quality is high, so you're not always going to have opportunities. So if you get behind the rate.
Pokana in on the leg side. There's another one in the block hole. A big appeal, futile one for LBW as the ball was hitting way outside leg stump. They may have a look because they've got 2 referrals left and there are only 15 balls remaining in the innings after this. Captain Assad Vala is asking, but mercifully they've decided against it because that would have been pointless. The ball was speared in towards leg stump, but it hit outside the line. But another terrific delivery from Pokana here, who's come back well. His first 3 overs went for 34, and he's just targeting the block hole here. And Berrington unable to get a run off the previous ball, then gets a leg bye off that. 148 for 3. Moving across his stumps now is MacLeod, and he misses it completely. It goes between his legs and through to the keeper. This has been a fantastic over from Pokana.
Well, it's just showed that you don't have to be 90 miles an hour to bowl Yorkers. He's actually he's bowled very accurately, and you can be. Sometimes it's the slower bowlers. If you're getting Yorkers off the slower bowlers, sometimes they're hard to hit because there's no pace on it. Has a little bit of dip at the end, compared to the likes of some of those quickie.
Pokana, another block hole delivery. Just held his nerve and fielded it. In the end, it kind of bobbled a bit. Maybe it might have spun a bit because it was dug right out from the crease line. Just going to see the replay of that. That's really annoying for him because
he could have stopped
casual
that.
There. He should have stopped that. He's conceded a run. It's only a run, but
one of the best death bowlers of all time.
Well, it's been a staggeringly good over. Last ball of the over, and his spell, and he misses his length full toss, but it slaps straight to square leg, and Berrington can only get a single, 3 off the bat, 1 leg by, just 4 runs in that over. 2 overs remain, 150 for 3, and that was.
Well,
I mean, we've been talking about their inexperience of the PNG bowlers, but that was as good a death over as you're going to see.
You won't see many better death overs. Even that last ball there was going to land in the block over. The fact that the batsman got down and went to sweep it changed the length by catching it on the full toss, but the field was set. I mean, they had a square leg, they went straight to him, but that is a fantastic death over. He's landed every ball in that crease line, and the batters just could not get it away. It actually forced them then to play a sweep shot because they knew, they got to a point where they said, this guy's not missing.
150 for 3 at the end of the over.
Who the heck? Who's Malinga?
Exactly.
We're talking about Malingas and Bumrahs and these guys, and then
Ravi, I strongly suspect though that you're making a pitch to be a death bowler yourself there. You know, sometimes, as you said, sometimes a little bit slower, dipping,
a little slow dipping. It's sometimes hard to hit.
Well, didn't you, or do you still? I can't remember. Hold the record for the best analyses for England in a T20 international.
4 for 9.
4 for 9.
I think someone got a fifer.
I think you're right. Someone did. I think someone did surpass you.
Did Volksy get a fifer?
I think it. Oh, yeah, it might have been. Soper starts the penultimate over and is slapped into the onside by Berrington. It'll only be a single. Amini, who's been out at deep mid-wicket, it feels like, for the entirety of this game, does the fielding very efficiently.
Somebody got a fifer or a 6 for or something.
We've got a producer who's now going to do some work for a change. So let's. Now he's sulking. So let's have a look. What have we got after this ball? I'll tell you. England's best analyses. Soper in, short, hit high in the air. Fielder comes in and takes the catch. MacLeod's got to go. It was caught out at deep square leg. It was banged in by Soper, and PNG have bowled really well this last couple of overs. They've adapted superbly to the conditions where Pokana was bowling nothing but Yorkers. Soper's bowling nothing but short balls into the pitch. MacLeod goes for 10, 151 for 4.
It's actually a good bit of bowling because what Papua New Guinea haven't done is change their lengths. They've sort of gone with the same length for a few overs, and I think the batter's got set against that, but he's actually banged that one in. I think he surprised MacLeod there. He sort of just caught him off guard and a little bit late on that hook pull shot, and obviously bringing his downfall. But it was a good piece of bowling. That's what Papua New Guinea have got to do more often. You know, I think they will as time goes on. They'll play more cricket against better teams. They'll learn to do those sort of things where you've got to change your lengths, you've got to change your paces. You can't let the batters get set. They're too good if you let them get set.
Ravi, I've got the news.
Go on then.
Okay, so you did hold the record for 8 years from the 23rd of September 2011, match against the West Indies at the Oval. It was quite a strange side, wasn't it? It was kind of patched up side. The likes of Johnson Charles was playing when he was very young.
You're talking about the West Indies that won the World Cup twice, and
yes, I am.
The biggest hitters of the
I'm not sure.
those guys. Yeah.
I'm not sure it was that 11 that turned up to play in that game, but come back to it in a minute. As Soper is in, and thick inside edge from Berrington is going to run fine. Keeper's chasing after it. They'll come back for a couple as Doriga tidies up 153 for 4. So 4 for 10 it was, not 4 for 9, off 3.4 overs, but I think your economy rate still holds up because Chris Jordan betted it with a 4 for 6 in 2 overs at Atai on the 8th of March 2019.
That don't count, does it? No, he bowled 2 overs.
And then 2 days later, David Willey took 4 for 7 at the same ground.
Against who?
West Indies, the great side that won the T20 World Cup. And the next delivery is Berrington has smashed the ball down the throat of deep mid-wicket. And it's Amini again with the catch. A fantastic bit of work, running to his left, and again it was a short ball from Soper, banged in. Berrington, who's in, seeing the ball like a football, could only slap it.
That
just as Matthew Cross had earlier, straight to deep mid-wicket.
Carbon copy of what happened with MacLeod. Almost identicals. Same thing, short ball, hit to the same man out there, similar catch, running round. It's actually a very good catch.
Wasn't it good?
To be running, because running catches are difficult because your head's bobbling, your eyes are bobbling. So you know, judging the pace and the pace is coming at you is always difficult. So it's a very, very good catch.
Well, Richie Berrington departs for 70. It's been a very, very fine knock. Played himself in early and then unleashed after the drinks break. But
see, they've given themselves a chance here.
I tell you, in the last 10 balls, Scotland have scored 7 runs and lost 2 wickets.
2 wickets. So, I mean, seven runs in the last 10 balls at this stage of the game. You know, that would be criminal.
Well,
it just brings Papua New Guinea back into the game. If they can keep them under 160 from here, you just never know. You need one guy to get set, get a good 60, get a good 70, and guys to play around him.
Well, they're certainly going to struggle to get to 170, aren't they? And that looked, well, odds on only 5 minutes ago. Michael Leask is the new batter. His first delivery is unsurprisingly short, banged into the wicket and pulled out to deep square leg for a single. This is a really terrific over from Soper because on a pitch, as you said, it's a good pitch. It's quite a high-risk strategy. If you get that short,
having said that,
slightly wrong,
I think I know why he's doing it.
Oh yeah,
because I think there's a very long boundary out on the leg side. So smart play actually. He's banged it in and said, "Look, if you want to take me on to the biggest side."
Well, yeah, it does make sense.
So
makes sense, but
I mean,
but he's what I love about it is he's getting it always around shoulder height, isn't he? He's not getting it sort of sternum height,
which is a good skill to do that, to keep hitting that high.
Last ball, short again. That one didn't get up as much and has been pulled out to deep mid-wicket. And they'll just get through for a single. 5 off the over, 2 wickets in that over. Soper finishes with the splendid figures of 3 for 24 from 4. Greaves has 1, Leask has 1. Each of them only faced 1 ball. And Scotland, with only 1 over remaining, 155 for 5. They don't think be disappointed with that when they won the toss and elected to bat, but 10 minutes or so ago, they probably would be.
Well, they were looking at 180. It was almost guaranteed at one stage. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but 180 was definitely on. And they would have been thinking that's a bare minimum. But now they're 155 for 5. How quickly it's changed in the space of 2 overs.
Well, what's really impressive to me is that a side like PNG has got so little experience. That's really what we're talking about. when you have so little experience and you see the ball flying to all parts and sixes were coming hither and yon, you can get a bit despondent. You can also not quite know what it is you're supposed to do because you've not been put in those positions too often. I mean, they've qualified for this tournament by winning games against sides that, for the most part, haven't been as good as Scotland, and yet they've adapted to this situation. They've stayed calm in the moment, and when those 2 overs could quite easily on another day, they've gone for 25-30. They've gone for just the 9 runs, which has kept PNG in the match.
Yeah, I think they'll be feeling pretty good. I mean, obviously, if this over, they bowl well.
Well, Morea's going to bowl it, left arm over the wicket. He's into Greaves, and Greaves goes down on one knee and then plays a sweep at it. Gets a little bit of pad, and they run through for a single, which should never have happened. It went through to the keeper, and a good throw there would have seen Greaves out. I think they managed to get through. Well, I'm waiting to see an umpire signal. Was there a bit of bat on that? Didn't feel like there was any bat on it. Yes. What happened is that the keeper threw the ball very sensibly, actually, to the bowler, who then dropped a pretty simple dolly. And had he taken that, he would just had to whip the bails off. He was pretty much by the stumps by the time he took that. Now then, no ball. Was it a no ball? Who would have believed it? We were waiting for an actual signal, and now we found out it was the thing that I thought it was least likely to be. It's a really tight call, but there is nothing behind that line from Morea, and that's exactly what PNG did not want, because it's a free hit now. 2 runs added to the score, 157. Free hit is slapped into the offside, but they'll get through for only 1 run. It's a really well bowled free hit by Morea. He's pushed it wide of the off stump and bowled it full in that channel, way wide of the off stump, and as a result, the batter couldn't get enough purchase on it, could only squeeze it away for a single. So not the worst outcome, 3 in effect from the first ball of the over. And if you're wondering what all that noise is, we're seeing some highlights from the last game. So don't worry, you're missing nothing here. 158 for 5. 5 balls remain in the innings. Morea is in, and that's hit high in the air, slapped across the line by Greaves. And it is dropped and then taken in the end. Rather by, who was that out there? A deep, long on. We'll find out in a moment. 158 for 6. That was up in the air for a very long time. Greaves had to reach for it outside the off stump. He got a lot of elevation on it, but he didn't quite get the distance. And in the end, the catch was taken by Siaka, I think it was, out there. Just bobbled out of his hands and then back into his hands. So their record of not having dropped a catch in this innings just about they cling on. But the 6th wicket goes down. He wasn't in quite the best position to take that catch. He had sort of right leg was elevated and the ball bounced out of his hands. It was Siaka with the catch. And Greaves departs for 2. Hitting out with 4 balls left, 158 for 6.
And it's been a good over so far. Bar the no ball, even the ball that he bowled on the no ball was a very good ball. It was a slow ball into the pitch, which the batsman couldn't get hold of, and then the actual delivery, the next delivery was a good wide Yorker. This one also wide, knowing the batsman wanted to go across the line and only skying it. So it's been a really good over, bar that no ball.
It's been really good 3 overs, isn't it? I mean, this is...
Yeah, it's been terrific. 3.5.
3.5, yeah. Well, what I like about it is that there's a definite plan here. I was talking about how panic can sometimes set in, but there's a very clear plan. The bowlers are sticking to their plan. They're bowling every ball in the same place. You'd think it might make it predictable, but if you execute it right, well, he hasn't executed that right. It was a full toss, which has been whacked out towards deep mid-wicket and has gone for 6, gone all the way for 6. Just as I said, Morea have been absolutely nailing those wide Yorkers. That one was around about knee-shin height, maybe. Yep, knee height. And has been whacked out over deep square leg for only a 67-metre 6, but that is a shorter side, as Ravu Bapar was pointing out in the last over. Soper was bowling short towards that long leg side boundary in the previous over. Now, of course, they've switched. So that's the short boundary now on the leg side, hence why Morea's trying to hide the ball outside the off stump. But Leask was equal to the task by moving across his stumps and flicking it away. And he tries the same thing now. He gets a big top edge on that, and it's going to land safely just over mid-wicket. And they come back for a second. Oh, that I think could very well be run out. Leask coming back for a second run. The throw was a splendid one from the skipper, Assad Vala, on the bounce, taken by Kiplin, Doriga, the keeper. He whipped the bails off, and that's out for me, Ravi. We'll see in a minute.
Yeah, well, the keeper's celebrating.
Yeah, he did the full Josh
he
Butler,
thinks it's
didn't
out. Lovely little celebration. There was no one else to meet him, though.
No, he's kind of like stuck alone, wasn't he, with his own delight. Yeah, we're just seeing the replay here. Throws come in, and he's out by a long, long way. He's out by a guttal.
My decision is for
Does that mean? If there are any New Zealanders listening, I'm sorry to bring back unpleasant memories. So Scotland lose their 7th wicket, hitting out. It was another attempt to locate that shorter leg side boundary by Leask. He moved across his stumps. He just didn't get enough on it. Top edged it. It went out over mid-wicket. And brilliantly gathered by Assad Vala, who was chasing back, picked up, threw in on the bounce. Leask goes for 9 from 4. And Scotland 165 for 7. 2 balls left to try to make it to the holy grail of 170. But PNG will be delighted with that, because they were staring down the barrel of 180 plus only a quarter of an hour or so ago. Wickets have tumbled in these last 3 overs.
Sorry, just made me think about that World Cup final. I mean, an incredible game that was. I mean, if you were writing a story,
You can't write that one, can you?
I mean,
Morea in, the penultimate ball of the innings. That's been driven firmly in the air by Davey, and is caught at long on. Another wicket for Morea. That is the 3rd wicket in the over. One was a run out, of course. But Davey now departs. Scotland lose their 8th wicket. There's 1 ball remaining, and this Scotland innings has sort of ground to a halt. They were 151 for 3 from 18.1 overs. Well, they're now 165 for 8. 10 balls later.
yeah, well, can't blame Josh Davey there. He had to go for it. There's only a couple of balls left in the innings here and he normally hits a really good ball. I've seen him strike it really well before, but not quite getting hold of it. Just held out right at the boundary edge, and 165 for 8. I think Papua New Guinea would be really happy with this.
Well, this is T20 at its absolutely most mayhemic, isn't it? Because we have essentially had, let me just quickly add up, in the last 10 balls, we've seen 5 wickets go down and 14 runs get scored. 14 for 5 in 10 balls is... That's quite the effort. I mean, bearing in mind that they scored 1 run off one of those wicket balls, if you like. But other than that, there's a 4-dot balls, aren't there, as well? Here is Morea, presumably to complete the innings. He's bowled him! A team hat-trick. Morea picks up 3 wickets of his own in the over. And Scotland finish on 165 for 9. So we can add that's 14 for 6 in 11 balls at the end of the innings. Scotland 165 for 9. They'll have set Papua New Guinea 166 to win. That is absolute chaos and mayhem at the end. I will run you through the scorecard at some point, but first, Ravi Bopara, been entertaining.
Yeah.
Really, really good death bowling from PNG.
It's been really good. I think the last 5 overs has brought about so much entertainment. You've got to love PNG's enthusiasm. For every wicket they take, they celebrate, they're running around, and they're walking off the field looking quite happy with themselves. And you know, if I was in that side, I'd be happy with restricting Scotland to 166 after 15 overs. It looked like 180 was an absolute minimum, and they were staring down the barrel of having to chase down quite a big total. But they've got a chance with 166. It takes 1 or 2 guys just to get in, and it's a really good pitch. So, you know, those who do chance their arm, it might just come off. There may be somebody in there who gets a big score today and is a hero for PNG.
Well, there was a hugely impressive end to the game. You were concerned, I was concerned about how they would hold up at the death, with Scotland motoring at one stage. They had set batters, they had MacLeod in, they had Richie Berrington in, and you did sort of think those last 3 or 4 overs there was every chance that Scotland would get up, well, to beyond 170, 180, even, you know, potentially up to 190 the way they were going. But in the end, they have been kept to 165 for 9. 4 wickets in the end for Morea, 3 for Soper. Top scorer Richie Berrington with 70, Cross 45, Munsey 15 at the top of the order, MacLeod 10, the only other 2 into double figures, and that rash of wickets towards the back end. 9-2, 0-0 for Leask, Greaves, Watt and Davey. 2 more first ballers to add to the 5 first ballers we saw in yesterday's match with Ireland. Bowling figures: Pokana none for 37, Amini none for 41, took a bit of stick at the top there, but Morea 4 for 31, Soper 3 for 24, came back brilliantly at the death. Atai with the other wicket, 1 for 20, and Siaka bowled just the 1 over for 8 runs. So, at the halfway stage in this match, Papua New Guinea will require 166 to win. Let's listen to this interview with Matthew Cross.
Your impressions on your target?
I think in the middle we were talking about 160 being a good score, so I think we've got to that. I think credit to the way they bowled at the start, and at the end it was pretty impressive, but I think there's something in the wicket for the bowlers to work with.
What is it about the wicket? Is it holding? Is it decking around?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too paced. I think you've seen with the spinners a couple have held and the odd one spun, so I think it makes it a bit tricky to line guys up, and if you change your pace like they did, I think it can be quite tricky to come in and start strongly.
Would you feel that the chase would be slightly easier, maybe slightly cooler? Is that something on your minds?
No, I don't think so. I think we expect to put them under a lot of pressure through the middle. We've got lots of options, spin and seam, so I think we've got everything covered in terms of that, so hopefully it will be tough for them.
50th T20 international for you. Congratulations on that. Really well batted, but at 45, after you saw that delivery, were you mortified with the shot?
Yes. Look, I was trying to push ourselves to a bigger score, but with me and Richie both set, I think it was time for us to keep going and see what happens. Unfortunately, it got out, but Richie played a brilliant innings there and got a 70-plus score, which is something we talk about.
Your message to all your bowlers?
I think they're going to be good here on this surface. I think it's going to be a tough chase for PNG.
Thanks a lot for your time. Go well.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So that was Matthew Cross playing his 50th T20 international today, and he was absolutely furious when he got out. He slapped a long hop, really, down the throat of deep mid-wicket and then smashed his bat down the ground in frustration and fury. Nonetheless, he contributed enormously to Scotland's recovery, I suppose you'd say, after they lost those 2 early wickets. 26 for 2 in the 4th over when Coetzer and Munsey were both out. And they featured in the highest partnership in Scotland's World T20 history, a 3rd wicket partnership of 92 between him and Richie Berrington. Gave Scotland that platform from which they could accelerate. In the end, they've got to be happy with 165 for 9. John Blade is with me, Ravi Papara is with me. We're going to have a little look at that first innings of this match. And it was enormously good fun, John, at the end for the neutral. But a bit of frustration for Scotland. They feel they've left 15 or 20 runs out there, perhaps?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, Ravi Papara's comment of Papua New Guinea have a hope of a chance, a bit of a chance is a concern to me as a Scotland fan. He should never have been saying that Papua New Guinea have a chance now. Form would say that Scotland are in the driving seat. And they should be favourites to go on and close this game out. However, as you allude to there, Dan, they've given them a chance, and the last 5 overs were not as Scotland would have planned it to go on. They got themselves in a fantastic situation through Berrington and that partnership with Cross, but they had to really kick on and maximise the runs that were on offer there. If it's a big if Scotland are to go on this tournament, it's situations like that they need to kick on and learn from, because if you're playing against a full member in England, South Africa and Australia, it's where you capitalise and really push on beyond 185, 190, 200.
Just some words though, Ravi, for the death bowling. Pokana, Morea, Soper, the last 3 overs, each bowler had a very specific plan and they stuck to it. We often talk about, you want change-ups, you want variety. They didn't bother with that, did they? There was a Pokana decided he was going to bowl wide and full. Soper decided he was going to bowl short and into the pitch. And Morea decided he was basically going to bowl wide and full. They bowled to the dimensions of the field, which showed great tactical awareness. They fielded terrifically. They didn't drop a catch, nearly dropped one, but didn't drop a catch. Good ground fielding all round. How impressed were you by PNG? Because they were really put under the pump at one point in that innings.
No, they came back really well. I think we spoke the other day on commentary about Yorkers and Yorkers at the death. There is a time for Yorkers, and there's also a time when Yorkers are overrated, because what Yorkers don't do is they don't bring you wickets, generally, unless the batsman misses it. Initial bowling,
be a straight
Yorker, and the batsman misses it, which doesn't often happen. You should be able to dig out a Yorker. Most people can dig out Yorkers. It doesn't bring about wickets. But the fact that Papua New Guinea went short in one of those overs and picked up the 2 set batters, what bowling length and bowling short does is it gives you opportunities of taking wickets. And they needed wickets at that stage. If they had just gone Yorkers, exclusively Yorkers, I think that Scotland would have hurt them. But the fact that they gave themselves an opportunity of taking wickets, they've got to hit the ball in the air by bowling short. They got those 2 wickets, and then all of a sudden it was hard to get away after that. And they just kept picking up wickets because they weren't bowling Yorkers. They kept missing their Yorkers or bowling a little bit short. And the Scottish batsmen just kept hitting it up in the air and getting out. So it worked out really well for PNG.
John, PNG, when they come to chase down this target of 166 for victory, which they will need, if they don't get it, then I think they're pretty much... they're not guaranteed to be out of the tournament. There is a strange way in which they can yet survive. It would involve them winning their last game against Bangladesh and Scotland beating Oman, so that there'll be 3 sides that have won 1 game, basically, and Scotland having won all 3. But aside from that kind of permutation, they need these runs. Who are going to be the main threats for Scotland? Who are going to be the guys that PNG look to provide substantial contributions?
We've got Assad Vala, who's experienced campaigner. They've got Death. They've got Norman Vanua, who's a lot of experience with both bat and ball. He's a really experienced and wise head in that innings, But Scotland will be well aware of the threat that Papua New Guinea pose. They've played against them twice in the lead up to this tournament. This is the 3rd time, and they've got 100% record against them. It's important to say that. But you never know. It's T20 cricket, and anything can happen. Again, the power play is going to be important. How are Papua Guinea going to play it? Are they look to be expansive? Are they look to try and keep wickets in hand? We've seen the trend in power play of late, which tends to be 2 wickets down. Can Papua New Guinea afford to lose 2 wickets in this power play? We just don't know. If it was me and I was working with that team or working within that team, I'd be just encouraging us to get ourselves in, keep the scoreboard ticking over, and we can assess at drinks, which I thought Scotland did fantastically well after 10 overs. And but it's all set up. It's been a good game thus far, and we'll see what happens in the second innings.
Ravi, I'm going to make way for Kevin Howes in a minute, but I want your predictions. How's it going to go? Are Scotland going to make it? Will it set up a thrilling afternoon as we watch Bangladesh against Oman? I'm leaving it in your hands.
Why have you done that to me?
Well, because I'm a cruel and heartless man.
Ravi, do you want me to help you out?
Look,
how do you see Papua New Guinea going about this innings?
I think they've got nothing to lose,
Okay.
and they should just go out and be positive and be aggressive. Because if they put pressure on the Scottish bowlers early, then it could be hard to just come back from that, because they will have to go defensive, and then picking up those singles will become easier. And I think they've got to start off aggressively.
And as you allude to, it's a good pitch, an excellent pitch to bat on. So there's no demons in there, both with seam and spin. So
I do worry about, can they handle the pace? I mean, Brad Wheal bowls good pace. He can get it up around 140. Will they be able to handle that? That will be a big factor in these opening moments, and I mean they just got to start off nice and aggressively, get themselves off to 50 off the power play. If they're 50 for none off the power play, they've got a great chance of chasing this stat.
I tell you one thing they won't do is die wondering. They're here for they're here for a good time. They've come so far in such a short space of time, and through adversity as well. Port Moresby's not a salubrious part of the world. It's a difficult part of the world. A lot of these guys have had to work hard and up against it to get to where they are. So they'll certainly go and give it a good go with a lot of steel.
No, thanks, Ravi. You're going nowhere, Mr. Blaine, if that's okay. You stay. It's thee and me for the first few overs of this reply. Scotland met PNG twice before in men's T20 internationals. 8-wicket win there in the month, and a 4-runs win as we get underway here with a quick single to get matters underway. So an 8-wicket win earlier this month and a 4-runs victory in October of 2019 in the qualifying tournament. Ura and Siaka are the opening pair here for Papua New Guinea, as they try and chase down what at one stage really did look like it could be around the 180, 185 mark. They came back well, the bowlers, in restricting Scotland in the end, but still a very fine knock from Richie Berrington and Matthew Cross, putting on that 92-run stand for the third wicket, having lost a couple of fairly early wickets in the openers, going quite cheaply. But it's Brad Wheal bowling for Scotland, and he's bowling now to Siaka with Ura off the mark with 1, and that one is punched into the offside. Here quite clearly in the background a cry of no there for dashing through for the single. Your reaction, which I've not picked up on again, to umpire Kettleborough and that white watch, and as if by magic on our monitors we get to see it again, because initially I thought we were being, and I don't know, are you being quite light-hearted about this, or do you think it's a genuine thing that he's got a reflective, something that could really be reflective?
If the bowler was bowling with a white wristband,
yeah,
what would happen, Kevin?
He would be asked to take it off. Next delivery is bowled. LBW appeal, umpire Kettleborough not out. Was there an inside edge onto the pads there or not? In the end, despite early excitement from Scotland over that, the DRS timer is on, but it doesn't seem to be one that Coetzer is interested in following up.
And the point for me is that the irony of it is that he's an ICC employee. And I know that ICC sometimes can be really pernickety on the number of logos you've got on your shirts, what you've got displayed. The umpire who's standing facing the batsman has a white, and it's not just a subtle white watch, I believe it's a G-Shock watch. And it's
Siaka again, but no run onto the onside.
It must be in the eye line of the batsman. So that's only my point.
Okay, thank you. It's massive. It's massive. No wonder he needs glasses. It's
interesting response from the materialistic Ravi Bafara
about sponsorship.
Yeah.
Siaka faced 3 deliveries yet to get off the mark, and Papua New Guinea 1 for no wicket. Target 166. 4 balls into this opening over from Brad Wheal, and he powers in again. His right arm over the wicket and pushed, but straight to the fielder, and there will be no run. So what you're hearing in the background at the moment is just some repeat of Brad Wheal's very impressive 3 for 24 against Bangladesh. He did bowl very well in that opening game for Scotland and for Bangladesh. Bangladesh in action later on today against Oman, looking to bounce back from their defeat to Scotland, and Oman looking to extend their run in the competition with another win, having beaten PNG earlier. Now he's found the gap very neatly there as Siaka. It'll be one for Watt to go and chase, and he'll bring up the ball quite a way in actually from the boundary in the end. He didn't have to run too far, gone past him, but he caught up with it fairly quickly. As I say, the ball doesn't run that true and fast in certain places. You've really got to time it well to get it to race the duration, not the duration, but all the way over to the boundary. So 1 over gone, 3 for no wicket, and Papua New Guinea here. Interesting what Dan was saying. It doesn't completely rule them out a defeat, but it's going to make it pretty unlikely they're going to make any progress. And for Scotland, obviously 2 wins out of 2 with just 1 to go. It's really going to put them in the box seat of reaching the Super 12s. So that's what lies in front of us in our first game here. This Group B match being played in Oman, and Richie Berrington with his 70, the highest score we've seen yet in the competition. I mean, this is the highest total as well. We've been around about 130, 140, 150 mark so far. Davey it is with his first delivery of the afternoon, and that is worked away for a single by Ura. So both the batters now on 2 not out, and Josh Davey, who was one of those batters who came in towards the end, who probably will feel as though they didn't really do a great job for Scotland. They were in such a strong position, lost wickets, couldn't get runs towards the end. It has given Papua New Guinea just that sniff of an opportunity and a chance here, which really did not look on the cards, especially when Berrington and Cross were going well. And it's Davey, bowls again round about middle and leg, turned around the corner. They'll have to be quick and sharp with the right arm throw, and they do go through for 1. So they're being busy enough about it, that they're being alert to the opportunity of picking up those singles early on. We were talking about whether they're going to go all out and try and smash the ball here, there and everywhere and be really aggressive. Well, certainly they've got a mind on making sure they can, if nothing else, pick up the singles if they find a big enough gap, even if it doesn't go too far away. 5 for no wicket. 2 balls into the second over. And that's a wicket. Chopped on Ura, and it's a wicket for Davey. I'm not too sure what he was trying to do with that, to be honest with you. He was left here, there, everywhere with it, but he's got an inside edge, chopped it onto his stumps. So an early wicket taken. Tony Ura having faced 3 deliveries. The PNG opener has gone for 2, and it's a wicket for Davey. 5 for 1 in the second over.
Yeah, it's the first delivery that Josh Davies managed to find what I'd call an off-stump line, or just outside off-stump. Both bowlers, Davey and Wheal, have sort of erred on the line of being straight, almost at the hip of the opening batsman, giving them no room. This time, Josh Davies finding a sort of third, fourth stump line, and Tony Ura trying to back away and give himself some room, finds the bottom edge, no feet movement really whatsoever, and realistically too close to cut anywhere through that point area. So he chops it on, and the off stump, I would say, goes cartwheeling at the ground, but it just sort of lamely fell, and he walks off for a sort of sad end after having looked businesslike and industrious at the start of his innings.
And a real look of, well, scream of delight from Cross, the wicketkeeper, as well. Perhaps themselves just feeling just a little bit nervy and shaky following those last couple of overs when they know they should have done better. So he was highly delighted with that, Matthew Cross, and his 50th T20 international appearance for the keeper. 3 players have passed that milestone. MacLeod, Berrington and Coetzer for Scotland. Make that 4 now with Cross. But Davey back in again, and he's this time coming around the wicket to Vala, who will not get a run. First up, just pushes the ball in the offside. 34 years of age, left-handed bat. Assad Vala, the captain, will try and steer his team into a position from which they can feel they can go on and pull off, which would be a magnificent win. They're not on a good run of matches, although they've not played a great deal. And this is the thing we need to remember. Well, with COVID and all the restrictions that's brought about, they've had so little cricket. T20 international cricket, especially, of course. PNG, that is played nicely by Vala, square on their leg side, and he'll get a single. Currently on a 4-match losing run, but this is only, I think, the 3rd game of international T20 cricket this year. Played 3, lost 3. So it's very difficult really to expect them to come in here and perform right at their best. But that's what they've got to do, I'm afraid, if they're going to make any progress in this competition. And put that to one side. They've had all sorts of tribulations, actually, some very personal, upsetting ones. Siaka facing, and again there'll be a run onto the onside. They'll go through for 1. Mentioned it at the weekend, but perhaps if you weren't with us, no, there's something, you know, take any pleasure in recounting, but just to show some of the adversity the PNG are trying to work despite of. There was a period, just a day and a half period, where 3 members of this squad were informed that they lost relatives back home in Papua New Guinea. I think COVID-related incidents as well, and of course they're there in their own little bio bubble as well in the competition. And I think someone actually mentioned yesterday the funerals held, and they had to watch on Zoom on the internet. So you know these things, and you shouldn't forget them. I mean, we're here for the cricket and to watch their cricketing skills, but as with so many people of course across the world, it's a very difficult, very challenging time. But here right now they're going to try and focus on the cricket and try and put on a good show. And it's Evans, Alasdair Evans, who's been brought into the Scottish team down the leg side. Didn't think he got anything on that for one moment. Alasdair Evans thought about appealing. Safian Sharif is the man left out. Haven't heard about any injury or anything. What about that change?
It's a strange one, really, because Safian's not done anything wrong. He's been a really good talisman for Scotland over a number of years, especially with the new ball and towards the back in the innings. But
Evans, right arm in bowls. Make sure bat and pad together. And
having said that, Alasdair Evans has been, really, really tidy, really efficient, and really successful for Scotland with that new white ball. It's wondering if they're going to go upstairs here. No, he's decided against it. But yeah, I mean, Safian has had an elbow problem for the best part 18 months, 2 years now. Maybe that's just flared up, and it's come back to haunt him a bit. But he's a good replacement here. Ali Evans has been, as I say, a really successful fast bowler for Scotland for a while now.
And he comes pounding in, and he's going to bowl to Siaka, who will find a big enough gap and space just in front of the square on the onside for a single. So this target of 166 still looks an awful long way away. We're only midway through the third over. They're 8 for 1 at the moment. I mean, Sharif in that match against Bangladesh, I think he pulled the last over, quite expensive, but I mean, it was an over where actually they still needed an awful lot of runs to actually go on and win the game, Bangladesh. So a difficult position he was put in anyway in that over. But it's he who's had to make way today for Evans, who now is going to bowl his 4th delivery. In and bowls, real grunt from the bowler, and that's going to be 4 runs. Hit away fine.
Kevin, you see the benefit.
Vala.
Yeah, you see the benefit there of the right-hand, left-hand combination. Ali Evans, who didn't play the last match, hasn't had any cricket for the best part of match cricket, certainly the best part of maybe 10 days, 2 weeks in a global tournament, and just when you're in form as a bowler, you know, you're able to adapt and adjust your line accordingly. Ali just straying onto the hip of the leg stump of the left-hander there, having bowled the early part of his over to a right-hander. He's just got to find an off-stump line here to the left-hander. He's over the wicket, whereas Davey is round the wicket to the left-hander.
Tucked it away nicely, Vala. What can he do with this one? A bit more power, and he's found a gap, and I think that's going to be another 4. It is. This time he's worked that away through onside and through sort of wide, long on area. Sat up for him, so that's successive 4s, and Vala will have enjoyed that. That last one just tucked it away neatly. The previous ball, and that time just far more purpose, aggression.
Yeah,
but it's another boundary.
Yeah, it's stand and deliver, really, to be honest. Ali's not bowled that. He's banged it in halfway down. It's just sat up, and Vala has just rocked back on the back foot and crunched that through mid-wicket.
And he comes in to bowl, and something we saw happen yesterday, actually. The toweling's not needed quite so much in the afternoon game as it is in the evening with the dew, of course, but the towel just comes out of the back, I think, of Alasdair Evans, whether it's in his pocket or just out of the trousers, which can be signalled as is it signalled as a no ball? No, a dead ball, isn't it? When that happens. But anyway, everything stopped before the ball was delivered anyway, and the next delivery is a better one from Evans, reaching for it. Vala gave himself too much room there and couldn't quite get to it. So
he's clearly targeting Ali Evans here. He feels that he's got some length, some shortish length bowling and width to play with, and he's trying to unsettle Ali in this first over. But Papua New Guinea they'll be keen on getting a partnership. We saw images there of the coach Cole Sandry just sort of scratching his head as they lost that first wicket. So he'll be talking to his team. Look, we need to get some partnerships in here. We need to keep that scoreboard ticking over, and not allow things to drift too easily and the rate to climb.
So 3 overs gone, halfway through the power play. 16 for 1. Target 166, and this is aerial, but it's going to be safe, and it's going to be 4. Beats the initial field, as we say. We're in this power play area. There's nobody out there in the deep in that area on the onside, and therefore it's another 4. So Papua New Guinea here with a good use of the feet, coming down to the pitch of the ball and hammered away. So a 4 which, you know, that they need to start believing, having a bit more confidence about their play. And we've seen in the last 4 deliveries now, 3 4s. It's Brad Wheal who is bowling. He's in his second over, and he's bowling to Siaka, who's on 9 now following that 4. A better delivery this time on the off stump and pushed into the offside for Wheal to come down and pick up the ball. Good game the other day. You've got to keep it coming thick and fast, and I think that's why I think every team, every captain, every coach has sort of said how unlikely they think it's going to be that the teams will win all 3 matches they're going to play in this group. And I think that's part of it, is to keep that momentum going, or to come back just one day off. And I don't suppose it was a day off. It'll be a day in the nets, no doubt, and still going through their routines. Wheal bowls and edged and caught. Well, that's Siaka who's gone for 9, and it's a wicket for Wheal. He came down, he tried to really put too much behind that, got it all wrong, and just a little nick, but you could hear it very cleanly and clearly through to the keeper. So he's gone for 9 of 13 deliveries. It's 20 for 2 now in the 4th over, and a wicket for Brad Wheal.
Yeah, Siaka, he got some joy a couple of balls previously to this by just dancing down the wicket, gambling on Wheal's length and hitting it down the ground. But this time Brad Wheal has hit hard length, top of off stump. He's not had any length or any width to play with there, Siaka, and tried to force it through sort of a wide-ish point cover area from a good length whilst dancing. Ironically, we're in the Strictly Come Dancing room here in Manchester, whilst dancing down the wicket, and a fine outside, a fine nick through to keeper cross.
Yeah, the sort of foot movement that Brucey in his day, of course, would have been very proud of, but sadly there is a difference still. Despite all the success there's been in Strictly Come Dancing for some of our cricketers down the years, I'm afraid it doesn't always pay out in the middle, no matter how nifty the footwork, and it certainly did not work there. So Vala's on 9, Amini has just gone out to the middle as well. Charles Amini, 29
Still
years
Charles,
of age.
is it? Not
Definitely Charles. Tuesday, we're on a Tuesday. And in fairness, it was the graphics on Sunday that threw us a little.
Oh, we had to go with it on Sunday because it was his Sunday name.
Sunday name.
You could shorten it to Charlie. We could go to Cha. What else could we go to?
Well, yeah, Chaz.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Did you say Chuck?
Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck Amini. But no, we're going Charles.
Respectful. Yep.
And I'm presuming that Brad is Bradley. I don't know.
It will be Bradley. Yeah.
So Bradley Wheal is about to bowl to Charles Amini, and bowls now. It's all very fine out there. That delivery just shapes away. A good delivery, very nearly again getting a bit of a touch through to the keeper.
One thing we haven't seen, Kevin, is the same amount of swing